he has really made a considerable contribution, I think, both to the fight against apartheid and to building our post-apartheid judiciary. Personally, it was a great privilege to work with him. And I, like many others, will miss him. I'll miss him both as a friend and a political activist, and more recently as a judge.
This is a man who pulled himself up by his own bootstraps, a person who rose through the ranks, who was a court interpreter, who became a person who was in the civil service, and at some stage then decided that the best place was for him to be a defender of people, a person who represents people, who articulates their rights. It is by no accident that he ended up in the Constitutional Court.
He lived the values of the Constitution. He was a wonderful human being himself. He treated everyone with dignity and care. He was self-effacing. He consulted well. His contribution to the law was huge. So all in all, a man with a wonderful sense of his own humanity, a man with a well-balanced sense of intellect and emotion, and a great sense of his own modesty.
He enunciated some of the most important values of our democracy. He was a patriot, very committed to good governance, to a judiciary that works and that has integrity through and through. And that is a big thing in a democracy, because the institutions in democracy must hold out, particularly when there's turbulence. And there's something that he did with remarkable calmness when it mattered most.
A very principled comrade, a very soft-spoken person, very humble, with a very sharp mind, but ready to listen to other people and contribute when his time comes. And as the ANC, we believe that South Africa has lost one of its best sons. The ANC has lost one of its most senior and clear-minded and level-minded persons. We pay condolences to the family who have been next to him throughout months of grappling with health problems.
I was scanning through the messages of a great deal of comrades from Nadel as I was driving over here, and the general sentiment was he was a mentor. He was somebody who was an example to emulate. He was somebody who respected and appreciated everybody's opinion and taught us to stand our ground where an issue of principle was at stake. He was also a man who embraced consensus, discussion. Exchanges were of value to him, and those, I would say, are but a fragment of what he has left us with and what we certainly hope to emulate now that he's left us.
I remember once driving with him in Durban, and we passed a low building, and he said, "You know, LBO, that was the Native Pass Office." And he went there, he said, "I went there, I was 16, you're young, you have to queue up to get your pass. We were stripped naked. The doctors felt our testicles." He said, "That wasn't very nice, but you know, you're young, you take it." But he said to see older men, old enough to be his father, going through that, he said that was unbearable. And it was that sense of humanity that never left Pius and never left my understanding of him.
When South Africa became a democracy, it was a singular honor that he was one of the first judges. And as far as I remember, here was a man whose family suffered the brunt of the struggle. We even lost one of his greatest sons in a mishap, and yet he stood firmly in the principles of creating a democratic South Africa.
News that moves. eNCA.com.